All right, so on the bottom.
You good?
Yes.
Does the mic work? Hey.
What? No, not. I where the slip was like right there. How's your interview? So, okay. What do you know you're supposed to hear from? But it's hard to solve. We got a violation because by closets apparently Josh's your trash. Yeah. Your closet? Yes. We've been there for 2 years. Speaking of Josh, what do you have to do about it? What do you like? Did you get fined? Yes. We have. Oh yeah, did you see that? Yeah, we have an indecent report because what we're trash cans. And my closet that I've been billed is fine for 2 years. Okay. But did you get a fine? What happened? This is it. Okay. Did you get a fine? No, there's no. It's a one more. I'm gonna go and say, hey, it's 2 years. Howdy. How are you?
Nice. Okay, so let's run through it. What else are we gonna do? Presentation. Zoom. Anything else? I have the roll call pulled up. There we go. Hey, Jacob, how's it going?
Oh, it's going so well. How are you guys? Can you hear me?
How are you?
Sorry, how are you guys doing? How's your break?
Good to see you as always.
Yeah. Where did you go? Go hiking or skiing or skiing? First time I've ever done that. Really? Oh, what's that? I've never done that.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Welcome in.
Thanks.
Test.
Nice.
We might have learned something.
Hey, y'all, we'll give it just a couple more minutes before we start to let any last minute people come on in. All righty. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to new senator training and congratulations officially on your election. We are really excited to get this year kicked off, starting with tonight, where we get to kind of introduce you to what SGA is, what Student Senate is, so you all can figure out what the heck you got yourselves into and what you'll be doing every week. So with that, we're going to start with introductions really quick. So my name is Blake Phillips. I am currently a junior here at K-State. I'm in Management Information Systems and Supply Chain Management over in the College of Business from Tonganoxie, Kansas. And I am currently the Speaker of the Student Senate. So my role is kind of organizing everything we do in the legislative branch. I make the agendas for Senate, represent Student Senate on a lot of different committees, and I'm kind of just doing all the nitty gritty work in order to make this thing run. So I'll throw it over to Nick to introduce himself.
Thanks so much, Blake. I'm Nick Sga. I'm a sophomore in civil engineering. I'm from Olathe, and I'm the speaker pro tempore, which means I'm Blake's number 2. I handle a lot of chores on the back end, like making sure our legislation gets certified, and I help Blake make a lot of decisions for the legislative branch.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nick. So really quick, we're gonna get you all up and moving here in just a couple minutes. Zoom people, you won't have to move, but I'll ask you to participate as well. I'm just gonna go through a quick roll call really quick just to see who all we have here and who I need to email information to. So go ahead and just say here if you're here. Volgamore, Anderson, Dole, Stout, Pelton, Atchison, Richenberg, Thomas, Goats, Gomez. That's okay, Juan. O'Donohue,
Here.
Banhart, Porter, Navarro, Shear.
Here.
Here.
Wait, there's two.
Oh, we have two Shear. Both of you are here. Awesome. Hoffman,
Here.
Pondillo, Brown, Talbert, Grills,
Here.
Bannister. I am here. DePaz, McPhee,
Here.
Murphy, Wolf, Lynn, Bellamy, Roth. Okay. Johnson, Pineda Gomez, Davidson, Long, Rogers,
Here.
Nick, you're here. Bratton, Compton,
Here.
Barron. Okay. Schindler, Salmon, RJ's gone. Lister, Kalari Kjall. Okay, last one. Kid. Both Shears are here. Midaw. Here. Sitzma.
Here.
And Galka.
Here.
All right. Awesome. Thank you all very much for that. So I mentioned we're going to get up and moving here for just a minute so we can introduce ourselves to some new people, kind of see who you're going to be involved with over the next year. So in SGA, one of our different traditions that we do whenever we introduce ourselves to people is we will say our favorite smell at the end. So we usually do name major hometown favorite smell as our classic introduction. And so my favorite smell, for instance, what is my favorite smell? I have the specific brown sugar vanilla Airwick that is in the office. I don't know if Nick's a big fan of it, but I love it. So that's my favorite smell right now. What's yours, Nick?
Airports.
Airports. Very nice. So what we're going to do over All right. The mic just died, so I really hope this doesn't become an issue all night. But what we're going to do right now, over the years, I've kind of gotten to hear some of the classic favorite smells that we hear a lot. And I want to kind of put it to the test. So in the room, we're going to divide the room in half, right, along that K-State thing in the back. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Testing, testing. People on Zoom, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Sorry about that, everyone. The mic was dying, but we should be good to go now. All right, everyone in person, go ahead and return to your seat for just a second. All righty. So, like I mentioned, favorite smells, we are going to split the room in half in person. And I'm going to list out 2 favorite smells. The first one that I mentioned, if you like the most, go over to that side. And the second one, if you like the most, you're going to go over to that side. When you get to that side, I want you to find someone that you don't know or that you don't know very well, because I know some of us know each other in here from Senate last year. Find someone and talk to them and just say something cool about yourself. Introduce yourself, intermingle. It'll be cool. So people on Zoom, if you all just want to type what your favorite smell is between the 2 in the chat, and then also something cool about yourself, you can do that as well. So first one up, lavender and gasoline. Go ahead and make your decision. Wow, we got lots of lavender in the Zoom. Okay. Wow. I think it's a sweep, actually. Nope, Alexa. All right, awesome. Thank you all very much. Our next one is going to be rain versus freshly cut grass. The smell right after it rains or freshly cut grass? Oh, wow, we got a ton of movement in the room. Not. Rain, very nice. Grass, grass. Yeah, good split in the chat. Alrighty, folks, last one. We have vanilla or coffee. Vanilla, coffee. I'm right there with you, Tommy. Imitation vanilla. I see you, Carson. Haley, that's the best of both worlds and is cheating, unfortunately. I will have you know, I don't drink coffee, but my hot chocolate, I put 4 pumps of French vanilla creamer in my coffee or in my hot chocolate. So I'm right there with you, Haley. All right, everyone. Thank you all very much. If you'll go ahead and head back to your seats, we will go ahead and get started with the rest of our program. So hopefully you got to meet some new people and you're excited to get to know them even more as we go on. I'm going to close out of this. Oh, crap. That's not going to work. All righty. Thank you all very much. So we're going to begin here in just a second. Throughout all of our presentation today, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to interrupt us. Just go ahead and raise your hand. On Zoom, if you want to type out in the chat what your question is, we'll be watching to see if there's any chats coming through. But we want to make sure that this process is as engaging as possible. And so we can answer any of your questions that come up. Our theme today, Nick, if you want to kind of talk about how we're going to structure today and Thursday and how that's going to go.
Yeah, of course. So basically, we're here to answer what senators do. So tonight, we're going to explain your first obligation, which is participating in one of our 6 committees and really getting into the details of why we have Senate, how SGA as a whole works, things like that. Lots of structure. And then on Thursday, when we're right about to go into our first session of the term, we'll talk about how Senate itself actually works. We'll go more over the rules, how you make motions, how you debate, how you ask questions, everything so that you're prepared for the first session and everyone after.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a lot of the what today, and then the how is going to be on Thursday. So it's fresh in your mind right before our very first meeting of the year. So we will go ahead and get started. There we go. So first, what is SGA? What have you all gotten yourselves into? So SGA as a whole is the Student Governing Association. That is our acronym. We're actually, fun fact, the only institution in the Big 12 to be named exactly Student Governing Association. A lot of the other ones have Student Government Association, but we're way cooler. So our purpose, straight from the KSU SGA Constitution, is to promote, or shall be the establishment and maintenance of student government, the enactment and enforcement of the just laws, and the promotion of such activities as are appropriate for the student body. What does that actually mean? That's a lot of fancy words that were written down in the 50s. So that means that we represent student voice and concerns through our elected officials, which are in this room. And we also fund a lot of different things across campus, putting our money where our mouth is and investing in our student community through those ways. So within SGA, there is more than just our senators that we have here. We are a 3-branch organization similar to our federal government. We have an executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch. Legislative is obviously the coolest, and that's what we're going to be focusing on mostly today. But we're going to give you a brief overview of the other branches as well, because you're going to hear some of the things that they're doing throughout the year. You'll have the opportunity to join these branches if you want to leave us for whatever reason. But we wanted to make sure to give you a little bit of an overview there. So our executive branch, similar to the U.S. federal government, is headed up by our student body president, and they have a vice president as well. These two select a chief of staff, which is in charge of the president's cabinet. So cabinet is made up of about 19 or 20 different individuals, and their job is to focus on one specific area of campus. So for example, we have a wellness director and a student well-being director. There is a sexual assault and prevention awareness director. Lots of those various specific areas they focus on in the executive branch. Legislative, we kind of do a little bit of everything, but the cabinet focuses on specific areas. The chief of staff is in charge of the president's cabinet. They meet right before we do on Thursdays every week, doing their various things, but the chief of staff runs those meetings. Our judicial branch, sorry that that's a little bit hard to see, but our judicial branch is headed up by our attorney general, and they have a deputy attorney general as well. So their main job is to enforce the student code of conduct. So if any of you were, for whatever reason, to get into trouble on campus, say you're at a football game and you get an MIP, you actually go through our judicial process. So there are students represented on those boards that hear your case and give various, what's the appropriate term for that? Not sanctions, but punishments, for lack of a better term, to help rehabilitate. So for example, if you get an MIP at a football game, one of the rehabilitation measures could be that you are required to take an ASAP training module, having to focus on alcohol abuse and awareness. So they have several different boards, such as the Student Tribunal, which is our equivalent of the Supreme Court, the Student Review Board, which handles a lot of those different cases, as well as the Parking Citations Appeals Board. So if you get a parking ticket and you don't like how much that costs and you think you have a case, you can bring that to our judicial board and they can decide if that will be appealed or not. So something really cool there. That's kind of how our branches work out. Additionally, in the bottom left, we have a few other positions, such as our parliamentarian. They are our rules keeper in Student Senate. And then we also have our communications director. Shout out to Rachel out there, who was our communications director last year. They run our social media, our all things SGA outward communication. And then our intern coordinators, which help run our SGA intern program, which we'll be touching on a little bit more on Thursday. But I will go ahead and turn it over to Nick to talk about what senators do.
Of course. So essentially, senators have, they have two primary obligations. The first is to attend Senate. That is 7 o'clock every Thursday night. Sessions usually run anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. That's where we manage the majority of our business and official proceedings. Your second obligation as a senator is to serve on a committee. Blake and I are going to explain how those committees break down in a minute. They are divided by interest area so that every one of you can find something that speaks to your reason for getting involved in SGA in the first place. But they meet sometime earlier in the week. Certain committees meet on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, depending on whatever's convenient. That ends up getting set later. In those committees, you workshop on what you actually want to achieve for students. Sometimes that's spending money to help student organizations. Sometimes that's pursuing reforms that you think should happen that could help students on campus. This is where you actually get a lot of the work done that we then see the product of on Thursday nights. Like, anything I'm leaving out?
No, one thing that I realized I should have done, I shouldn't have advanced the slide yet. The general structure, similar to the other branches of our legislative branch, that is what you all are in. So the Speaker of the Student Senate is at the top. That's me. Speaker Pro Tempore, which is Nick. As we mentioned, Nick helps me out in a lot of things. We also have our committee chairs. They're the ones who run your committee meetings and serve on our Senate Executive Committee, which meets every Tuesday night, just kind of our meeting of leadership every week. We also have what's called Caucus Leaders. We'll get into those here shortly. And then student senators as well. That's what makes up our legislative branch as a whole. So that is the only thing that I would touch on there. But I'll let you start here.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so tonight we said we wanted to focus a lot on what SGA is, how it works. So we're going to break down each committee in the legislature. There are 6. First, the Student Allocations Committee. This one does, of all of the committees, one of the most direct SGA to student interfaces across the entire organization. They meet and hear presentations from clubs and organizations that are traveling or putting on events, and then they decide whether or not to give them money. These are usually relatively small amounts of money in SGA terms, but they put in a lot of diligence into making sure that those dollars are really well spent. So an example of legislation that they would write is a particular allocation bill that would say we're giving X amount of dollars to XYZ organization.
I'll take the next 3 and last 2. Cool. So similar to the Student Allocations Committee, we have another committee that allocates money. This is called our Tuition Enhancements Allocation, or Tuition Enhancements Committee. So we get a sum of money from from administration every single year that we can allocate to various programs and initiatives across campus. So those are directly from our tuition, not from any fees that we pay. We'll get more specific on a fee that SGA has control of here in our next committee, but this comes directly from tuition. So some of the things that this committee does is funding university-wide tutoring. We get to decide how much money goes there every year. Fun fact, I used to be a tour guide on campus, and one of the cool facts that we had was we're the only institution in the Big 12 that has completely free tutoring to all students. So this is how we deliver on that. SGA gets to allocate that. So that's super cool. Additionally, we get to fund some really cool new programs and initiatives every year. So how many of you in here have heard of Cat's Cupboard? Awesome. Love to see that, every single person in here. That actually started as an initiative from this. So we were able to give them startup money so they could get off the ground and really start their operations. And now they're a fully funded entity by themselves. And that's the goal of some of this funding. Our goal is just to start them up and then they transition to being funded in various different ways. So an example of some of the legislation that this committee will pass, they won't pass a ton of legislation this year, probably about 3 different things, but they're going to contain a lot within those. So these will be resolutions specifying various funding amounts for different programs. The committee is going to spend a few weeks reviewing all of those different programs and putting together one proposal for Student Senate to vote on. So that's how that committee works, the Tuition Enhancements Committee. Next, we have our Student Services Fee Committee. So how many of you in here have heard of the Student Services Fee if you've looked at your bill? Nice. So you pay approximately $462.48. I believe that's the amount. But basically what this committee does is allocates where that money goes. So Lafine, our student health center, is funded off of the student services fee. Same thing with counseling services, CAPS, the union, student design services, the rec. A lot of those different programs that are super cool across campus are funded off of this, and students are the ones who get to make those decisions. So every year, you're going to see various different bills coming forward from Student Senate or from the Student Services Fee Committee, adjusting what we give to various student services fee entities. Generally, we give out 3-year contracts to various entities to kind of give them funding so that they can operate. And we get to review those entities and kind of change those amounts how we see fit. So those are some of the various things that we fund across campus. And the total amount of that actually adds up to over $14 million that we get to allocate to students every year, which is super cool. Super awesome that we have control of that money. It's actually the second biggest in the Big 12 that we get to allocate out. So super cool committee right there. Oops. Next, shifting away a little bit from funding, we have our Senate Operations Committee. So the purpose of this committee is really to manage our internal rules and regulations within Student Senate. Something that Senate Ops does, every week you'll see an agenda come out, and you'll actually all get an agenda tonight for our first Student Senate meeting. Those come out on Tuesdays, and Senate Ops has a big role in what that agenda looks like. So when we submit legislation to be on the agenda, Senate Ops is the one who looks that over and makes sure that it's ready to hit the floor. Things such as fixing grammar and spelling mistakes, making sure that things are formatted correctly. They really do a lot of the nitty-gritty work in order to make sure that Senate runs effectively. So some of the things that they do, they can, well, anyone can do this, but it'll usually come from this committee. They get to amend a lot of our different governing documents so that our Senate can run more efficiently and more effectively. And additionally, they get to edit that legislation. So you'll see a lot of different bills coming from Senate Ops this past year or in the future. So, Nick.
Alrighty, next up, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, or DEI. So DEI's function is also super outward facing. They're focused on recruiting new people to SGA and making sure that SGA as an organization is adequately representing all students. So something DEI is responsible for doing every single year is conducting a demographic survey of all of you new senators that are getting involved in the organization. Essentially, it is their aim to make sure that SGA is a more engaging and more inclusive space. And then our last committee is the Strategic Oversight Committee. This committee takes the function of advocating on behalf of students. So if we see some administrative rule or process or policy that we think doesn't treat students fairly, then it's this committee's responsibility to advocate that we change that. It uses a documentation structure that tries to preserve information over time so that what we work on this year can be carried into future years. They would publish a resolution that would call on the administration to solve X, Y, or Z problems.
Yeah, Marta. Well, so 3 of our committees, the Strategic Oversight Committee, and then the first 2 we mentioned, the Student Allocations Committee and the Tuition Enhancements Committee, are actually new this year. This is the very first year that they're going to exist, so it's super exciting that we get to hit the ground running and really establish these committees and what they do. Unfortunately for Marta, the Governmental Relations Committee was a committee last year. We passed legislation in Student Senate reorganizing all the committees, and the Governmental Relations Committee will no longer exist within the legislative branch, but its purpose will still be carried out in the executive branch. So we had a little bit of restructuring towards the end of last year, and that is the result of what you're seeing today. So we're really excited to get that going this year. But I do want to stop really quick before we hit on this. Are there any questions about any of the committees that we talked on? I know that was a lot of information, and you're going to get a lot more specifics about why you should join a committee or who would fit best in which committee here in a few weeks once we have our committee chair selected. But that is just the general operating knowledge. So are there any questions about any of that I can answer? Nice. Anything on Zoom? Cool. All right. Well, in that case, we will go ahead and continue on. So shifting gears away from committees, we also have what are called college caucuses. So a college caucus is simply the members of anyone in SGA within your college. This is really emphasized by the student senators in your college. They are the voting members. So let's use an example, arts and sciences. If you're in arts and sciences, go ahead and raise your hand. Congratulations. This is, or at least some of the members of your caucus. So you will get to meet with these people throughout the year. They're really good ways to focus on different initiatives within your college or just initiatives in general. If you're going to miss Student Senate, something that we ask that you do is fill out a proxy form so that someone can vote in your place. And college caucuses are a really easy way to find a proxy just because you all know each other and you're kind of able to coordinate and communicate in that way. So that was the membership. The purpose is really to unify a voice for your college. There are going to be several times where we are going to ask for representatives from a college, and we'll contact the college caucus for that recommendation. Additionally, they get to nominate various members for other committees that we have, specifically regarding fees. We have a committee called the Tuition and Fees Strategies Committee, which every year kind of reviews different college fees, and each college gets to put up a representative for that committee. So they get various input on a lot of different things on the college level. They get to ratify different constitutional amendments if the process isn't completed exactly the way it's supposed to be, which has been kind of a trend over the past few years, but something that we're hopefully going to be fixing. And then finally, the college caucus also gets to perform outreach to their college about SGA. So last year, before I was speaker, I was the caucus leader, which we'll talk about here in a sec, for the College of Business. And what we did, we reached out to all of our different intro level classes and went and presented on SGA, what it was, how they could get involved, and various different things like that. So that is kind of what the college caucuses are meant to do and something that they'll be doing throughout the year. Nick, I'll let you talk about caucus leaders.
Absolutely. So after we select all of our committee chairs for the year and get everyone placed on committees, we will set up our other structure of leadership, which would be the caucus leaders. Now, the caucus leaders have the responsibility of leading their caucus. So often what that means is a lot of management of the processes that we just talked about, whether that's picking particular members or organizing meetings with members of a particular college to advocate on behalf of students. Essentially, they are the connection among all of their group of people. And it's also their responsibility to make sure that everyone in their particular caucus feels accepted as part of the unit of Senate. Caucuses often can be a little bit more informal and less rigid than committees are. So they're a really great space if you want other people that are taking the same classes as you and can answer a lot of the questions that you have. Blake brought up a really good point that caucuses are a great place to find proxies if you ever need them. So essentially, it is the caucus leader's job to make sure that their caucus is a good environment.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nick. So before we're going to hit a little bit on a timeline now. So what does the rest of your school year look like in terms of SGA and within Student Senate? So on Thursday, March 24th, that is going to be our first Student Senate meeting of the new term. So that will be in Wildcat Chamber, which is just downstairs and kind of across the hall. It is right by the entrance near the Multicultural Center. So you will come in there. And our very first meeting will include the election of the Speaker of the Student Senate. So I will begin the meeting on Thursday, but by the end of the night, I will no longer be Speaker. You all will elect a new one. You may have been getting emails from various people throughout the process. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a second, about that position specifically. But you'll have that to look forward to on Thursday. Next week on Thursday, we will elect a new Speaker Pro Tempore of the Student Senate. So Nick, that will be his final meeting in his position, and we'll elect a new version of Nick. After that, shortly after that weekend, we have a lot of different applications open for committee chairs and our parliamentarian, communications director, intern coordinators, a lot of different things. Those applications will be due that weekend. And so you all have the opportunity to apply. You are more than welcome to. You will find those application links on the agenda that will come out later tonight. So definitely check those out. Super great leadership opportunities within SGA if you're interested in any of those specific areas and are wanting to lead some of those. After that same weekend on April 3rd, we will have interviews for those positions. More information is to come on that once we have our new leadership team on board. They'll be able to give more specific information about when those interviews will take place, exactly what time, but they will be on Sunday, April 3rd. Next, that following week, we will swear in all of those new positions. So all of our committee chairs will be established. The cabinet will be established. We will basically be ready to go in terms of leadership for the year. The following week is where we will finish that out. We will do caucus leader elections at that point in time so that we can have members leading each caucus. And then we will ideally have everyone assigned to a committee at that point in time. That is a little bit subject to change based on what the new speaker wants to do with that. We have a couple of weeks to spare, so if they want to push anything back, we'll see. But that is kind of what the timeline looks like right now. April 28th is going to be the final Student Senate of this school year. So in Student Senate, we meet every single week during the semester, except for the first week of the semester, dead week, and finals. We don't meet over any breaks either, but you can expect to have Student Senate at 7 p.m. every Thursday, except for those weeks, the first week, dead week, and finals. So that will be our last one before we hit dead week and finals. We'll go through summer and then come right back on the second week of the school year in the fall. That is what the timeline looks like. Are there any questions about the timeline at all? Nice. Love to see the graphic worked, hopefully. Oh, no, I did not check Zoom. Thank you, Evan. Nice. All righty. So like I mentioned, on Thursday, we're going to be doing the election of the Speaker of the Student Senate. That process is a little bit interesting. So on the agenda, you will see we'll have a section called General Orders. That is only on the agenda when we elect representatives within Student Senate. So on Thursday, and we're going to go over this again on Thursday, but I just want to make sure that we get it out there so everyone has time to think about it and just know what's going to go on Thursday. Once we get to the election of the Speaker of the Student Senate, I am going to open up the floor for nominations. Anyone can be nominated for Speaker of the Student Senate. Anyone can also nominate themselves to run for Speaker. So what this would look like, I'm going to pick on Nick. If I wanted Nick to run for Speaker, I would say I would raise my plaque to be recognized by the Speaker. I would then call on me, I guess. So I would say, I nominate Nick Sga to be the next Speaker of the Student Senate. That requires a second from someone. So yeah, thank you. I think someone said second. Yeah, Jacob. So at that point, Nick would be able to accept or decline the nomination. So let's say I accept. If Nick accepts, we'll continue accepting nominations from everyone until nominations have ceased. At that point in time, I will call everyone forward and we'll just do a quick random number generator to get a speaking order put together. So once that's determined, every candidate will have 10 minutes to address the body. They'll be able to give a speech on their vision for the next term, various different things that they want to change about SGA, all of that different type of stuff. Senate will then have the opportunity to question that person for 5 minutes. That can be extended if we want to, and we'll go over how to do that on Thursday. But we'll be able to ask the next candidate questions, and that will continue for all of the candidates. They'll get to speak and then ask or answer questions. And yeah, we'll go down the line till we run out. At that point in time, everyone will be out of the room and we will go into debate for candidates. So you all will have the opportunity, if you would like to debate in favor of a candidate, you'll be able to express to the body why you support them and why everyone else should be voting for them. So for example, I'll be like, I am seeking debate in the positive for Nick Sga, and Jacob would want to give Nick positive debate. So he would get up, give a speech. We'll offer that for every single candidate. That will continue until debate is exhausted, or until every speaker has been given the opportunity to speak, or there's been the opportunity to speak for every candidate 5 times, in which point the previous question, meaning we stop debate, is in order. So that is what that process looks like. Once debate concludes, we will move into a blind ballot. I'll have a Google form ready for everyone to fill out, and we will vote for the next speaker of the Student Senate. So at that point, if there's a majority, that person will be the next speaker. If there is not a majority, then we eliminate the lowest candidate to get down to 2, and then they get to give recap speeches and so on. It's a really confusing process. I'm going to walk you all through it as we're doing it, but that is kind of how it will go on Thursday. Are there any questions about that specifically? Cool. I promise it isn't as bad as I made it seem. It'll be a lot easier to go through once it's actually happening. So yeah, that is what we're looking at there. I wanted to open up the floor for any other questions that we have tonight. Feel free to shout anything out. Yes, go ahead. Yeah. So if you are, so did you, in the last election, did you have enough votes to be a student senator? Yes. So you'll be sworn in on Thursday, and that'll be the first decision that you get to make, is who the next speaker is going to be. So that's why those speeches are really important. So that person or those people get to tell the body who they are, why they should be the next speaker. And then the question period is also very important, so that you can ask any questions that you may have of that person. So yes, go ahead. Yeah, so caucus leader, the caucus gets to elect the caucus leader. So that'll be like the 3rd or 4th week of the semester, or of the term. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mention that. But the agenda is set by the Speaker of the Student Senate. So everyone, and we'll go over this on Thursday, how to submit legislation, but every single student senator can submit legislation that they want to be considered by the body. So say I wanted to write a piece of legislation saying that, I don't know, we don't like sidewalks on campus. No more sidewalks. Yeah, thank you. I could introduce that. All I would have to do is submit it, and it'll be on the agenda next week. So I get to go up in front of Senate and say why I think that we should not have sidewalks. And that's kind of how that process works. The speaker puts together the agenda every week, and then it is considered by the body on Thursday. Let's see. Any questions on Zoom out there? No. Okay. Okay. Nick, was there anything else that you wanted to add? Did I miss anything?
Nothing that I can think of right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, go for it.
So you can come up to Blake or I after this meeting if you want our contact information, but also our information should be listed on the K-State website under SGA leadership, Blake. There's some tab on the SGA page that should have our phone number, or at the very least our email. So if you come up with any questions between now and when you see us next, feel free to ask. We'd be happy to help out.
Awesome. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, so I'm going to send this out to everyone. So you'll have access to all of these slides. And then same thing on Thursday, we'll have probably another slideshow going on with what to do there. Like I said, you'll get an agenda later tonight. That's going to be the official agenda for Thursday. So just take a moment, look over that before we come to Student Senate on Thursday. For new senator training, though, I'm going to put together a little sample agenda because our agenda on Thursday is not going to be super long. It's just going to be mainly the election of the speaker, but I'll throw some sample legislation on the agenda so that we can kind of walk through how actually debating on legislation works, how questions work for legislation, what legislation even looks like. So that will come out on Thursday. That'll be sample. Don't take it too seriously, but we'll be walking through that on Thursday with you all. So I will go ahead. Last call for any questions. Oh. Alrighty. Well, feel free to come up and talk to Nick or I after we're done. We'll be sticking around for a little bit. So if you have any questions you want to ask us, please feel free. Thank you all so much for coming. I will see you all on Thursday at 6 p.m. in Wildcat Chamber downstairs. So if you want to know where that's at, let me know. But thank you all so much and have a great night.